Population growth is often offered as pressure behind Viking expansion, yet direct counts do not survive. No Scandinavian census records how many people lived there around 800. The argument must instead pass through settlements, graves, farms, and changing landscapes. Those traces suggest regional growth, but they do not prove one universal crisis. Population change may have encouraged movement without mechanically causing raids or migration. That cautious distinction controls the investigation that follows across regions. Archaeologists can track new farms, expanding cultivation, and altered settlement density. Each indicator has weaknesses because discovery and preservation vary greatly. More excavated houses may reflect better research rather than more historical inhabitants. Cemeteries reveal communities selectively, since burial practices changed through time. Pollen diagrams can register clearance, grazing, and cereal cultivation across a landscape. They measure environmental activity, not exact numbers of people. When several indicators rise together, demographic expansion becomes more plausible. Even then, local sequences cannot be projected across all Scandinavia. Some districts grew while others reorganized, contracted, or shifted settlement. The centuries before the Viking Age brought substantial social and political change. Larger halls and central places indicate concentrated authority in selected regions. Agricultural improvements may have supported more people and greater elite extraction. Land division could then become a source of competition within families. Yet medieval Scandinavian inheritance rules are documented most clearly in later texts. Projecting them unchanged backward risks building causes from anachronism. The familiar story says surplus sons had nowhere to farm. It remains plausible in certain settings but insufficient as a continental explanation. Women migrated too, especially in settlement movements involving complete households. Isotope and genetic studies can identify mobility or ancestry patterns in selected remains. Neither method reveals a person's motives, language, loyalty, or legal identity. Expansion included raiding, trading, military service, colonization, and political exile. Population pressure would affect these several choices in profoundly different ways. A land-hungry household might join settlement more readily than seasonal plunder. An ambitious retainer could seek wealth despite abundant land at home. Merchants followed demand and protection rather than demographic arithmetic alone. Captives moved because coercion removed any meaningful choice. The category expansion, therefore, contains several demographic stories. Western Island settlement offers one comparatively visible testing ground. Norse communities established themselves in Iceland during the late 9th and 10th centuries. Archaeology records farms, imported domestic animals, and rapid environmental transformation. Later Icelandic writings preserve settlement traditions shaped long after initial arrivals. They name prominent settlers more effectively than the full migrating population. Land availability clearly mattered in Iceland, but opportunity differs from expulsion. People may leave because destinations attract them, not only because origins reject them. Norwegian political consolidation appears in later narratives as another motive. Harold Finehair's saga-era biography cannot be accepted as contemporary documentation. Royal pressure may have influenced some departures without explaining the entire settlement. Networks through the Northern Isles also guided migrants toward known possibilities. Information lowered uncertainty by linking travelers with earlier arrivals. Population growth could supply participants while networks selected their direction. Across the North Sea, Conquest presents a different demographic problem. Armies wintered, seized resources, negotiated territory, and sometimes settled. Written sources describe political and military consequences rather than family structure. Place names and later landholding patterns indicate Scandinavian influence unevenly across England. They cannot provide a simple headcount of incoming settlers. Large cultural change need not require population replacement on an imagined massive scale. Smaller groups can reshape language, law, and ownership when backed by power. Conversely, numerous migrants may leave limited archaeologically distinct signatures. Demography and dominance must therefore remain separate questions. Within Scandinavia, new settlements could absorb growth before overseas migration became necessary. Forest margins, uplands, and northern zones offered expansion under particular ecological conditions. Such colonization sometimes affected Sami communities and existing resource use. The evidence demands attention to displacement within the North, not only beyond it. Internal mobility complicates any picture of a sealed homeland overflowing outward. Communities could redistribute people without crossing the sea. Urban growth added another destination during the Viking Age. Places such as Ribe, Hedeby, Birka, and Kaupang concentrated crafts and exchange. Their populations included mobile specialists, merchants, dependents, and enslaved people. Towns could absorb labor while stimulating food production in surrounding districts. This feedback may increase carrying capacity rather than simply drain rural surplus. Commercial opportunity also made overseas movement profitable independently of crowding. Silver from Islamic world networks entered northern economies through eastern routes. Demand for furs, slaves, and other goods encouraged organized long-distance ventures. A growing population might enlarge labor pools supporting that commerce. It did not create foreign demand or determine violent methods. Political leaders converted available people into crews through patronage and obligation. More inhabitants could mean more followers, taxpayers, producers, and rivals. Whether growth strengthened rulers or drove challengers abroad depended upon institutions. The same demographic trend could therefore yield opposite political outcomes. Food security places another limit on the pressure model. Several good harvests can support population growth and finance risky ventures. Poor harvests can constrain voyages by reducing surplus and weakening households. Scarcity does not automatically send well-equipped fleets to sea. Successful expansion usually requires resources beyond bare survival. This creates a crucial paradox within demographic explanations. Pressure may encourage departure while prosperity supplies the means. Different social levels could experience both conditions simultaneously. An elite estate might accumulate surplus as dependent families faced tighter access. Expeditions could then serve patrons seeking wealth and followers seeking prospects. Inequality links population change to action more convincingly than numbers alone. Runestones commemorate selected journeys, deaths, and relationships without explaining demographic causes. Sagas offer motives within literary narratives composed centuries after many events. Historians consequently compare patterns rather than claim a single trigger. If settlement expands before overseas activity, growth becomes a possible enabling condition. If particular departures follow political conflict, local institutions deserve greater weight. Where whole households migrate, land and security may outrank immediate plunder. Where temporary fleets return, opportunity and leadership may dominate. The best model allows causes to change across region and generation. Population change likely increased both productive capacity and competition in some districts. It may also have tightened access to desirable land or inheritance. None of those effects compelled a person to become a Viking. Expansion emerged when demographic conditions met ships, markets, politics, and reachable destinations. The missing census prevents certainty, but not careful comparison. Population was probably an amplifier whose force depended upon the society surrounding it.